Hello, welcome back to my channel. Um, this one is actually inspired by a question that I keep on getting asked over and over and over again throughout a few of my story times. It's, well, a question that I myself have asked uh, my friends and I because we have wondered the same thing as well. Um, as some of you know from my stories, I've gotten into certain situations, and the question that keeps on popping up is, how are you still alive? I have no idea. Since I was little, I had always been a very reckless child. The first time I dislocated my wrist was because I want to say I was 9. I was 9 and I jumped on top of a neighbor's car. I don't even remember the reason why, but I was holding on to the hood and they sped up, they stopped, and I went flying. And my arm went this way and my wrist was up here. My hand was up here. So I have no idea. Stuff like that. Or when I was 11 out here in Veterans Park in Silmar, I had climbed up a chain link fence that basically separates the rest of the mountain, the wild mountain, from the Veterans Park area. And my cousin and I were looking at the wild animals that were on the other side of the fence. We had seen quite a few. We had seen a couple of deer, rabbits, coyotes, all these wild animals. And my cousin decided to go from this side over to the other side without going down the nap. He just went over me. And I remember like something happened where he accidentally kicked my leg and I slipped. And my arm somehow went this way. And the fence got caught in my arm. This was actually down here. This was down here when I was little, and I guess because growth, it just shifted up. Um, but yeah, that I was hanging there, and my uncle grabbed my wrist, climbed up, grabbed me by the wrist, pulled me off the fence, and we went to the ER. At the ER, they were actually very surprised for two reasons. One, they were surprised and shocked that, because the cut went all the way down to the bone. And they were surprised and shocked that it had missed every single main artery. Like none of the veins were separated, and I didn't bleed. Don't know how that happened. It was really, really, I actually, because they wrapped my arm with, my uncle took off his shirt and wrapped it around. And what actually hurt was when they were taking off the shirt, was that the shirt was actually stuck to the meat inside. But there was no blood. Oh, I felt so bad for those doctors because I was fine until I saw the needle. When he brought the needle with the thread and was about to sew, I freaked out. I freaked out to the point that it actually took, I think it was like 5 people and my grandma to hold me down so the doctor could just, and they put blinders on me. I felt like, like they do with the horses, with the blinders. Yeah, so I wouldn't see. And when I didn't see it, it just, everything else went, the pain and everything, because I was actually still feeling some pain while I was looking at it. It was weird. Even though I had been shot up with Novocaine or whatever it is that they put on you to knock you out, to put my arm to sleep. Another thing that we used to do was with Mark and all my other friends was we would go down to San Diego a lot and visit a couple of our other friends down there. And we actually got into the typical shopping cart jousting, which if we stopped and thought about it, we could have gotten impaled because we would just look for sticks, whatever we could find, metal tubes, and somebody would jump into the shopping cart. This is, mind you, this is like well past midnight. And somebody would push you in the cart and you would just sit there like if you were jousting on a horse with a big old javelin. It is a javelin, right? Okay, we'll go with that. And we could have impaled each other drastically because there were times where the impact of the carts was so big that they would tumble over and everybody would fall. Nobody got hurt. Another thing that we would do is car surf. You know, driving down PCH, driving pretty fast and just getting on top of the car and surf it. Things that we would get into. I even got hit by a car once. I was living in that apartment that I had mentioned before where the paranormal activity happened. And I was walking home. I was coming home from work. And as I'm walking down the street, going home, this car, I had the right of way, but this gardener truck just came and hit me and sent me flying to the middle of the street where he was about to make the right turn into. And my knee was dislocated completely. My left knee has never been the same ever since. Every once in a while it pops out. Oh, the pain. But like again, like kind of like my wrist, my leg was here and like from the knee down was up here. And I remember the cops showed up like immediately. I have no idea where the hell they were, but they were there in an instant. And they asked if everything's okay. And from behind the cop, I could see the gardener just really scared, shaking his head, no, no, please, in Spanish. So I said, no, everything's fine. And I just hobbled away. Oh, I can't believe I actually walked. It was about fourth of a mile? No, half a mile. I walked half a mile up to where I lived then. And man, I mean, some of the stuff that I'm just like, how did you survive? How? Another incident was when I was with my friends up in Mulholland Drive, taking pictures, and it was three of us, Mark again, and I believe Pink was there, and myself, and our other friend was taking the picture. And all she kept on saying is, step back, a little further back, a little further back. Never mind that there was like sort of basically a cliff going down behind us. And all I remember is her saying, one more step back. And I screamed because I just went, poof. And then the next thing I remember is my friend screaming, I killed Raffy, I killed Raffy, I killed Raffy, oh my God. And everyone's screaming, never mind just looking over to see if I was okay. So I had to scream because I got stuck in the brush and chaparral that was growing on the side. And I'm just like, I'm here, help me. So they had to get a rope and pull me up that way. Yeah. And I mean, I've been in so many situations that have like just, yeah, my best friend and I have sat there and talked about the fact that we have no idea how we are all still alive. We were all young, we were reckless and stupid. Because even in the car accidents I've been in with my friend Mario Poppins, we had come from visiting some friends in West Hollywood, and we were driving down Sunset, West Hollywood Sunset. And if you know the area, you know that if you're coming from, let's say, San Vicente, going towards like Laurel Canyon and that area, Sunset swerves. It just does this one little thing. And we were going home, and right where in that curve, there used to be I don't even know what kind of, I really don't know what kind of store it was, but I know that they had a giant Rocky and Bullwinkle. It had been there for decades. And it was kind of like you would step down a couple of steps to go into the store, and that's where the door was, and that's where the statues were. And right in front of, between the entrance of the store and the statues, like no, right in front of the statues, there were these giant cement box planters. And again, right when the street starts curving, this guy in a car clips my friend from the front because he couldn't stay in his lane, and we just started spinning. And all I remember is just reaching over, putting my hand on my friend's chest, holding him back up against the seat, and just screaming, "Oh shit, not again!" Because by then I'd been in quite a bunch of different car accidents. None of them were my fault. That's a fact. And we ended up just spinning. We hit the curve, and we were airborne, and we just landed just thunk. And we're like, whoa. And I'm just like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, are you? I'm like, yeah. I open the door, and it's like a couple of feet drop. We landed on top of the cement planters. That was messed up, though, because the cops showed up, and they tried to blame it on us. And we're like, bring us the breathalyzer, bring us anything you want. We're sober. And if it wasn't for like right at the corner where it happened, where the guy clipped us and we started spinning, there was a food truck, and it was full of people. And they all came running to see if we were okay. When the cops showed up, they were just like, it's not their fault. It was his fault. And the guy who hit us, we were in a I want to say 91 Beamer, and the guy was in a Jag. So, and he was white. And basically, the cops were trying to blame us. Never mind that the guy that hit us, when he got out of the car, he couldn't even stand up. And you could tell that he was on something else as well. And they didn't want to take him. But if it wasn't for like the bystanders who saw us, we're like, thank you. They probably would have taken us instead of the guy, because that's what it looked like they were doing. We were so mad, but everybody was there and very helpful. And so, yeah, there's been quite a few. Another incident was, this is years prior to that. One of my friends used to drive, she used to drive this van. And the van only had basically the two, it was a what are those, carrier vans type deals? It looked like, from the outside, it looked like a kidnapper van. Because no windows, no nothing. And she had this huge, long bench type seat, but it wasn't secured to the van. And we had taken the legs off of it, because we're like, if it's not secured, it'll be safer if it's down on the ground lower. Again, going through Laurel Canyon Pass from the valley here to West Hollywood. If you know that, that's a pretty steep grade. So, and on the valley side, it's just pretty relatively straight. It has a little curve, but as soon as you get to the top and you get on the West Hollywood side, it just starts snaking all the way down. I remember it was three of us sitting on the damn chair going up, and the chair just starts sliding back, and we're just like, oh shit. So we bang up against the back doors. Luckily they were all locked. We didn't do that quite often though. And on the way back down, as we're swerving, going down the curves, the seat just slams to the front, and all you hear is us screaming, "This is how we're gonna die!" Again, this was like a very common phrase in all of our escapades, because yeah, if you stop and think about it, like most of everything we've done, we could have all died, like all of us. So the question still remains, how is it that we're still alive? We have no idea. We have no idea. We have thought about it. Oh my goodness. I even had a guy pull out a gun. Well, I had a guy pull out a gun on me a couple of times. I worked at, as I mentioned in the past, I worked at a bank called Security Pacific National Bank. We were Van Nuys Branch 150. Now, this branch is located, or was located, now it's another bank in that location, but it's located in the corner of a street where across the street is the federal building. You have the courthouse, you have the library, and you have the police station. And right next to it, there's an alley, and then the other side of an alley, there's a parking lot, and on the other side of that, like open air parking lot, and it's a small open air parking lot. It's the bank's parking lot. And on the other side of that, there used to be they moved it now, but there used to be a fire station. And unfortunately, this was the branch that was known for getting robbed the most. And I think it was because of that alleyway that was right there in between the parking lot and the bank. So I got held up at gunpoint twice. And it got to the point where we were held up so much that we were so desensitized. And this is before the big old shootout that happened in North Hollywood. It was in the news and everything where bank robbers robbed the bank. And it was a branch that I was supposed to have gone in to help that year too. Because this is, I believe, I don't know if it was Security Pacific still or Bank of America had already bought security already. But I'm not sure. But yeah, I ended up getting sick. So I didn't go to that day at that branch where all this happened. But yeah, this was before then. And again, we got so desensitized, and we always had the same reaction. The one time that I got robbed, our reaction was, again, so out of we're not thinking. Logic just doesn't exist. Like I said, the last time I got robbed, gave the guy the money, and as soon as his hand grabbed the handle to go out the door, I screamed, "Wait a minute, that's my money!" And as soon as I said that, all you see is all the tellers snap up, look at me, hit the alarm, closed our windows, even with the customers there, and we all ran after this guy. There was a green gremlin with a white stripe on the side, and the stripe split into two. At the back. And he got in it, and they took off down the alley. As we're running down the alley, the car backfires. We screamed and dove in all directions. Now, the one thing that I hated about getting robbed at the bank was the fact that the fact that we're right across the street from the police station, and it would always take them anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes for one officer to show up, let alone the rest. We were like, really? And then we couldn't talk to each other, so the branch would have to close for the rest of the day. Because everybody saw the person, everybody would see the person, so they would have to sit us and separate us. Now, this branch had a second story, and that's where like the conference rooms and everything else was. And so everybody was in a corner. Everybody was in the corner facing the wall. It felt like you were back in elementary school and you were misbehaving, so they tell you to go stand in the corner and think about what you've done. But yeah, so, and that we would have to wait until somebody from the FBI would show up, and they would interview us so we could give our descriptions and just basically tell our story, because they wanted to make sure that everybody's story stayed pure to the individual. So yeah, another time that I got held up at gunpoint, I actually had the guy apologize to me, and I gave him a big hug. Was a night that we were with some friends. We had gone to this club that is no longer there. It's now this posh bar. But when we were there, it was just like a regular, locals bar / dance club. It was in North Hollywood. And it wasn't Rawhide. Rawhide was country. And that was on Burbank. This is on Lancashire. Oh. If you're from the LA area and you remember the name of this club, leave it down below, because I have been trying to remember the name of this club forever, and I cannot remember it. But yeah, we had gone there with friends. That was the night that I ended up meeting one of my nightmare relationships. But we had gone out. We were going to go home. And Mario ended up telling me, we're going to go home. And so I'm like, all right. So we went outside and nobody else followed us. So he's like, all right, let me go in and get everybody else. I'm like, all right, I'll wait out here. So I'm waiting out there. I decided to go walk to the car, which we had parked on a side street, which is what, maybe like 20, 30 feet away from where the club was. And I just went down and waited by the car. Then this guy comes up walking. And as he's walking, he talks to me. And I start talking to him. I was really, really drunk. And he just pulls out a gun and points it at me. And I started laughing. I started laughing hysterically. Like I ended up on the floor. And he's like, what the hell's wrong with you? I have a gun at you. And I'm just like, oh, honey, no. You came wrong day, wrong time, wrong queen. He's like, what? And I'm like, you're going after somebody who just came out of a club. Not just anybody, a gay somebody. A gay somebody out of a club who's drunk. What does that mean? I have no more money left. And if you're lucky, you'll get a hello. Because that's all I can afford right now. And he just looked at me and I'm like, you're not going to get anything from anybody in this area right now. No. Nothing at all. And he just looked down and put the gun down and he's just like, I am so sorry. I am extremely sorry. It's just that I just found out that my grandfather is really sick and I need to get up north ASAP. And then I've never done anything like this. The gun isn't even loaded. He showed me the gun and I'm just like, I don't know if it's loaded. I'm too drunk right now. But go on. So he told me his whole story and I felt so bad. And I had a watch that my grandfather gave me. And it has like a little diamond at the very top. And the rest are just little crystals on the bottom throughout the numbers. And I took it off and I'm just like, this is all I have. My grandfather gave me this, but you can go to a pawn shop and get some really good money for it. And he started crying. And he's like, you can't do this because your grandfather gave you that. I'm trying to get myself up to see my grandfather. I can't do that to somebody else. A gift that your grandfather gave you. And then I started crying. So then we start hugging. And I'm just like, you know what? If there's a way, you'll find it. But don't do this again. Because if it were somebody else, they probably would have done something else too. If they didn't give you the money, if you didn't scare them into giving them the money, which again, I repeat, you're not going to find anything here. You're going to end up hurt yourself. So, and he's like, yeah, I know. I won't. And I'm like, promise me. And he's like, I promise I won't. And he just went off. Yeah. But, I mean, logically, I was right. He wasn't going to get anything from any of us. Nothing. Because, I mean, even the only thing I had was, I could have at least given them $20 because I had my emergency 20. The emergency eating 20, because you always have your money in your wallet and you always put your emergency 20 to go eat after the club in your shoe. I could have done that because we did go eat afterwards. We ended up going to Taco Bell. Oh well, didn't even think of that then. I was so drunk. But yeah, so those are the stories that, some of the stories that make my friends and I question, how is it that we're still alive? How is it that I'm still breathing? I have no idea. That's a question that I may never find out the answer to. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed it, and I guess we'll talk some other time. Take care. Ciao.